What do you think about this? I'm trying a wider camera angle. I've tended to zoom in, mostly so I don't have to worry about keeping my desk or this room in order. But I realize it means that you typically just see not even my arms, you just see my face and occasionally my hands. So maybe the benefit of not having to clean up is outweighed by the kind of weird perspective. Let me know. Uh, but that is not the topic for the video today. Today I'm talking about what it's like to get back into practice after time off. And in this case, specifically, the Thanksgiving holiday here in the U.S. Like many people, I took time off work. I traveled a lot. While I was traveling, I didn't meditate. I didn't practice. I overate every day. I slept kind of weirdly. All of these are things that disrupt sort of the daily routine. And that daily routine is made up of two parts, right? It's made up of actual tasks, things to do, and then it's made up of things like habits, right? So I draw a distinction between practice, saying I'm going to meditate for an hour, from routine. Routine is I'm going to walk for an hour a day, or I'm going to drink 100 ounces of water. Maybe that's not a useful distinction, but in my mind, it's there are these things that I do so that I can do everything else, and the exercise and the hydration. It's an experiment that I've been dabbling with for a while now. What happens if I really pay attention to how much water I drink and how much exercise I get, even in the most basic level of moving, of walking? And then there's the practice. Did I practice Nundro in the morning? I like to listen to the Sam Harris daily meditation. I like to take also a few minutes and just practice kind of big sky, open mind. Between those three practices, I kind of get an hour, a little bit more a day, over the course of 2, sometimes 3 sessions. All of that went out the window. I like to watch what I eat. I track what I eat, not so much because I'm meticulous about what I eat. I just like to know what I've eaten. I think it's another level of self-scrutiny. Did I eat enough of the right kind of food? So I'm starting to look at macros. Like, did I eat enough protein, enough carbohydrate, enough good healthy oils? This is all by way of introduction. What happens when I do none of those things and then return to them? And it's easy to come off a vacation and be a bit demoralized that the practice did not demand attention during vacation, right? Like, I bet when the Dalai Lama goes on vacation, he still gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and meditates for 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever it is that he does. But you know what? This year I'm not taking it that way. I was very deliberate when we left. I said I'm not even going to try. I'm going to avoid overindulgence, but I'm not going to try to find time to fit in those other routines. And here's the thing, those are routines, they are not punitive. That discipline is a source of joy for me. And the discipline and practice that you find for yourself has to also be, at the end of it, a source of joy. not a constraint or restriction or punishment. The discipline may take the form of not doing certain things, but it has to balance out by saying, if I don't do this, then I will be able to do that. That second part is the only thing that matters. So then Wednesday morning, we left and drove out. We drive from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. Actually, it was Wednesday evening, not Wednesday morning. It's quite late when we got on the road after we'd finished work, so we didn't drive all the way. It's not super far from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, but it is 5 or 6 hours, and it was going to be 6 or 7 o'clock by the time we started. And neither my wife or I like driving at night, so we drove a few hours and got to Breezewood, stayed at a hotel, and then drove the rest of the way early Thursday morning out to Philadelphia. And the only part of my daily activity that I kept to with consistency was first thing in the morning, I have some stretches that I do to kind of crack my back out, because I have learned that if I don't do those, my entire system is off for the day. So I did those, but I didn't then, step away from the day's activities and meditate for an hour. I didn't remove myself. And here's the key, I think, is I said right from the front, I set the expectation that I wasn't going to do that. And I think this is my learning for taking a break and then returning, is if I'm upfront with myself with what I'm going to do, then there's no disappointment when I don't do it. If I had said, I'm going to try in a motel in Breezewood and in an Airbnb in Wilmington, and then in my parents' apartment, I said I'm going to try to carve out time to do all of these things, and then not do it. Today, the day on returning back to work, I would be in despair. And that would be a weight that really makes it hard to start back up. But without that weight of disappointment and broken expectations, then this morning I woke and I resumed my typical daily practice with morning meditation. I'm going to take the dogs out for a walk after dinner. Today, I prefer to do it first thing in the morning. That was my only adjustment today being the first day back from a break. So when there's a break coming up, set the expectation. What's realistic? And keep to that realistic goal so there's no disappointment. And then on return, allow for one adjustment. In my case, that's taking a longer walk later in the day rather than first thing in the morning. It's not so difficult. But other than that, back to being careful about what I eat, watching hydration, not staring fixedly at my social media accounts. All of these things just sort of are a welcome back, rather than feeling like I have let myself down or failed over vacation. Instead, I have this welcoming practice to pick back up, to pleasure. Discipline has to be pleasurable. And I don't mean that in a sadomasochistic way. I don't mean that in the the way that well, I don't mean that in a sexual sadomasochistic way, where the pain itself is felt as pleasure. I'm not talking about that right now. What I mean is that discipline, daily discipline for practice, has to start from a position of joy, and that's wisdom to know that not doing something will bring joy. Not doing the discipline of constraint is only so that you can open up space to allow for positivity and joy. And if it isn't that, if it's something else, some inner anguish that's representing itself as prohibitions or punitive constraints, don't do that. I can say that because I've done that. That was my practice for 30 years. And 30 years, because I'm 55 now. Yeah, 55. And I've been doing some form of practice since I was a teenager. And a consistent thread through all of that was the objectives or the goals of the practice became measuring sticks to punish myself with. It's really been the last 3 years that shift happened. And it's pure grace. It's nothing to do with the maturity of my practice. Something just shifted. And I can only wish that for everyone. Adjust your discipline, set your discipline so that it can be accomplished, and so that it creates space for joy. And then returning home after a vacation, even a wonderful vacation. I had a good trip. It was great to see everybody. But then coming home and resuming that practice is just a joy. I feel like I want to keep saying this because I'm realizing it to myself as I say it out loud, how important this is. The discipline can be adjusted, and it will need to be adjusted. There will be pieces that can be moved and taken out and shifted around. But if I look at where I am today, and if a year ago I had said, you need to set these goals and these examples and these objectives, it would have felt insurmountable. But over the course of the year, I've simply introduced iterative controls, and then when things have become routine or practice, I can revisit it, add in something else. It's the same with the pose. We start sitting with the pose. Have it be a pose that you can hold for 20 minutes without adjustment, and then the mind will settle. And as that has happened, well, then you'll need to tighten up a couple of things so that you're still alert. It's the same with daily practice, sort of getting comfortable. And comfort is fine. Comfort is good. Comfort is necessary to grow. So it's cultivating. But comfort is not debauchery, right? It's not giving in to every pleasure. What falls under the umbrella of growth or of comfort could be something quite austere, on something that appears kind of austere from the outside. So I could keep talking, but I will stop with this. But I am interested in this. I would love to hear from you if you have questions or comments about what your daily practice looks like, and whether this incremental approach of constantly adjusting comfort, whether that makes sense to you, or whether you think it gives permission for our worst excesses to be considered part of practice, which, that's a risk, but it's not the intent. Right? So, keep your wits about you.